Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. For once, it is a slightly different voice here, greeting you at first. It is, for once, not King Kodiak, but myself, Austin Smith, welcoming you here to Singapore Round 9 of LOE F1 on PC, and alongside me, not King Kodiak, who was not available for tonight, but we got a very good replacement here in one of Kodiak's very, very long-time friends and a long time commentator as well, in Hamish Sopwith. Hamish, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks, Austin. Really looking forward to the Singapore race, round 9, as you say. It's going to be a great one. Qualifying started off full wets, but a lot of drivers have progressed to intermediates at the moment. We're looking at a mid 54, but I have no doubt in the next 8 minutes and 55 seconds that time will be broken. It's currently XL on with the best time in the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, we're having slight issues. My game just crashed, so we're going to have to wait a second to actually show you some live footage. That never happened to me before. It's the first time the game has crashed on me on PC. Had it on PS4 a couple times, but on PC not so much. So, yeah, let's get a little bit into the track. I mean, we have the Marina Bay Street circuit, 5.063 kilometers long, and as most people probably know, it is one of the slowest circuit on the calendar. I mean, Monaco, obviously, famously the slowest circuit, but Singapore, not much faster than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously, in terms of actual full race time, Singapore, I think, is the longest on the calendar. Because, of course, in Monaco, you never actually do the full 300 kilometers. It's like, I don't know, 250 or something like that. So, for Singapore, because obviously they're not doing 300 kilometers in this race because it's a 50% race. So, they're doing about 150 kilometers for the entire race distance. It will take the longest amount of time, probably around, in a fully dry race, I expect probably around 50-ish minutes to complete the race. And it's a tough track, you know, there's very little margin for mistakes. You don't want to be making many errors. And there's a lot of corners. As you already said, there's 23 corners, and, you know, and you want to be nailing the corner every single time.
Yeah, certainly. There's so many different corners around this track as well. I mean, you have the section turns 1, 2, 3, where you have quite a fast section of corners here that then gets slower when you get to turn 3, and you have to brake in turn 2 for turn 3, try to sort of straighten it out as I'm finally back into the session. I hope the game doesn't crash on me this time. Let's actually switch over. There we are. We have the game available to us. Fantastic. Let's quickly get everything up. Detail, fitted tires. We are in the rain here, so intermediate conditions for everyone. We have a couple drivers who have the wet tires on. That's Inbound's Cupid and Ollie, as Luckyfinger and CD have already retired. Surely they have crashed somewhere. I would be surprised if they retired and chose to retire here. I'm pretty sure that is not out of choice, and that is in fact sort of out of necessity, out of, you know, the game doesn't leave you any other chance if you do end up in the wall somewhere and one of your tires falls off, then that is the end of the session for you. As we are looking at Mr. Anchor, who's leading right now and sliding here on his outlap already.
Yeah, Cody got a 29.8 first sector, 3/10 faster than his fastest already. So he did set a 30.1. He's now on a, and he's gone purple again in the middle sector with a 42.9. So he's really on it, as Mr. Anchor.
Yeah, it says he's on his outlap. Now it says not anymore. That's because I was joining the session a little bit late. But yeah, he's not on an outlap actually. So this is his flyer, and he is flying. I mean, final sector now, lots of 90-degree corners, left, right, left, and now trying to set himself up. You don't want to run too wide here. The moment you leave the track, strict corner cutting, as always, is the moment you invalidate your lap and you lose all of your lap time. And it is a 1 minute 50.7. I mean, let's just look at that gap for a second. 1.6 seconds between Mr. Anchor. Well, okay, never mind. Kasu just went second there. So 7/10 now the gap, but 1.6 seconds between first and third.
Yeah, I mean that's it's it's a pretty large gap. I mean, I'm sure these guys will be wanting to get within a few tenths, not quite a few seconds. Quite a lot of spread. There's almost 10 seconds separates first to 16th. But I have no doubt that these guys will close up, and obviously the track's getting drier and drier, so these times will tumble. So it is going to be very much, who can be on the track last. So we might even see a traffic jam, and we might see an outsider, come from, maybe Vino or something. Maybe he'll try and bolt on the dry tires and see what he can do right at the end.
Yeah, so we're looking at Black Panther right now. He's trying to improve, and he's already a second up after 2 sectors. Should be improving significantly more, and he does by around 5 seconds. So that final sector of his previous lap time must have been awful. So he regained a lot there. And up to P5 he goes. Who else do we have? We have, I think, Velo coming through the final corner. Indeed he is, but that lap time is nowhere. 20 seconds down. Must have made a significant mistake somewhere. V8 Field is running right now. He has invalidated. And I think he just hit the wall as well there. So that is his lap over. And in fact, yeah, you see the right side end plate there gone of that front wing. As he slides into the pit lane, forgets about the speed limiter there. Graham comes in. Is there anyone on a lap right now? We're looking, I think Mr. Anchor is going into the pit lane as well.
Yeah.
Then we have Inbound Cupid and Ollie both on out laps. Inbound Cupid about to start a lap. We have a Williams as well here in, I think that's, it's Kasu coming in. An Alfa Romeo staying out. That is either Zudema or Mart Manet. I think it might be, no, it's Zudema starting a lap. But there's J. Cole. That completely went unnoticed. I tried to find him there, but that is him. And that is a remarkable lap. Second place for J. Cole, the championship leader. And yeah, gets a little bit of traffic here, but that's not on a flying lap. That's his in lap right now. Maybe a cooldown lap, just because if he goes into the pit lane now at the end of this one, he will not have a chance to make another lap happen. As it seems like the rain has completely stopped. Indeed, no, it hasn't. He was just driving under some sort of bridge, and it looked like it. But no, it is still coming down, but a lot less than when we first tuned into this session.
Yeah, Vino's actually decided to go on to the medium compound tires, and he is sliding all over the place. So it's going to be interesting what sort of lap time he can produce. He's currently 9.5 seconds off the pace. So it'll be interesting to see if he can close that gap on the dry tires, but judging by his outlap, that's looking unlikely.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be coming soon enough to run dry tires here. One little quirk about this track is that if it starts raining, if you go from dry to wet, the crossover period hits very quickly. But if you go from wet to dry, the crossover point comes very, very late. I think what has been programmed into the game is quite realistic, and it is that never mind. The game just completely proved me wrong there. Commentators cursed myself. DRS is now enabled, so the mediums should actually be quicker now than the intermediates. So maybe Vino has a good shot here, and maybe Merckx and V8 Field have as well. What is Vino doing? Why is he coming into the pit lane?
No, he should stay out. Oh, it's such a shame.
It really is, because he had a good shot of completely jumbling up the order here and score a huge upset. I don't know why he's coming in. We still have Merckx out there and V8 Field. Let's see who's going to be the first one of those across the line. I think it might be V8 Field. He is
slowing down big time. He's going to end his session, I imagine, because
I think he might be just letting people by.
Possibly. He's going to have to get a move on. In fact, I don't think he's going to have a time to finish a lap. 18 seconds. He's not going to finish his lap.
Well,
so,
there is a glitch. There is a glitch on F1 2020 where the timer in the top left is not accurate, and the drivers have a different timer than we as spectators do. So I think both Merckx and V8 Field might still be able to get a lap in. Let's
We'll
see.
find out soon because Merckx is coming up to 20. So
yeah, no, Xe just came across the line and has the checker flag next to his name, so it is actually this time not a bug for us, and the session is over. So Merckx no longer able to get a lap in, and yeah, you see here no DRS enabled, and yeah, it's the AI driving at this point. So all the drivers that can still set a lap time are drivers on intermediate tires in dry conditions, and Mr. Anker still improving.
Wow. Let's have a look at Mr. Anker. Yeah, coming through, just come sort of under the bridge, if you like, a difficult corner to get right. I think turn 13, if I'm not mistaken. You've got to get a really good exit because this is, you know, you really want to carry through speed down to 14. This is where you really need to make sure you have that rhythm because there's lots of 90-degree turns now and you'll be hitting every apex. You just want to be able to slide the car to the right part of the track and you don't want to overdo it. It's so easy to lock up the brakes and just go straight on, especially coming under the Emirates, whatever you call it, the sponsors and stuff. It is very difficult. The bridge suddenly becomes dry, a bit more challenging on the intermediate tires up towards the end of the lap 20 and 21. As it comes towards 22, it's very much a case of kiss a wall, but that's a massive kiss. He might even have a bit of front wing damage that could affect him around that last corner. Across the line, and he goes 0.2 of a second faster. Good job. And that 0.2 has just allowed him to, you know, increase that gap to XL, almost 3 tenths ahead.
Yeah, we're looking at Velo and Sven both coming into the pit lane. Is there anyone still left to set a lap? No, there isn't. They're both coming in, so that is the end of the session. And Mr. Anker is on pole position here for the Singapore Grand Prix with a remarkable lap time, 1 minute 50.5 on intermediates in the dry. Now, the big question is, what are the drivers going to start on? What sort of conditions are they going to start in? Is it going to be raining in the race as well? It has gone dry here, fully dry at the end of this qualifying, but in the race that can all change. We could have a full-on dry session, we could have dry to wet, wet to dry, full-on wet. I've seen even races on F1 2020 before where they went dry to wet to dry. Wow. We've had it all, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see something crazy. Singapore, always known for the crazy races, for weather playing a role, for the safety car making some appearances, plural, very important here. So I think we're in for a good one here. Mr. Anker takes pole position, Zuidema in second, Tixi third, J. Cole fourth, Casu fifth, Black Panther sixth, Velo 7, Sven 8, Inbounds Cupid 9, Merck 10, Graham 11, Xe 12, Ollie 13, V8 Field 14, Sniper 15, Mark Mania 16, Vino 17, Lucky Finger and CD. No time 18 and 19. They did not set a single qualifying time in this session. As we head into the race, let's quickly look back because we couldn't do it before. At the last race at France, round 8, it was, of course, Velo who won that race. Started P2, won it in the end. J. Cole got second, Zuidema got third. Very, very good result there for Zuidema, who was a debutant last time out. Kangokon 4, Merck 5, Casu 6. You see it on the screen. I don't have to read all of that for you. The overall standings, those are a bit more important. We have a 3-way battle for the championship lead. J. Cole at 125 points. Velo 120. Merck 115. And then we have a massive gap down to Sven, Black Panther, Jake, who is not here tonight, Kangokon, Casu, Xe, Mr. Anker then in P10 with only one appearance, by the way. Mr. Anker is a reserve driver, only had one appearance, and, well, he won that race, as you can tell from the 25 points. So that's the championship standings. J. Cole, Velo, Merck, those are the drivers we're going to focus on a little bit here tonight, obviously, as the championship fight goes and heats up more and more as we head closer and closer to the season finale, as the drivers are now taking the formation lap. Let's look at the tires, and that is a potpourri I hope I pronounced that correctly. I think I did. Of tires here. Montminier has rejoined. Almost everyone on the mediums. We have Black Panther, the sole driver on the hards. And we have Inbounds, Cupid, Sniper Owns, and Montminier, who I think was not able to choose the tires. He was out of the lobby and has just rejoined on the softs as well. So, a lot of drivers opting for the mediums here. The mediums have the best durability for their pace. Just to quickly go through, we have the C5, C4, and C3 tires. If I got that correct, let me just quickly check to make sure that I'm not telling any wrong information. No, C5, C4, C3, which have a nice little quirk about them. The C4 and C3 do double the gap of everything else. So the gap between C5 and C4 is the same as between C3 and C2, is the same as between C2 and C1, but between C4 and C3 it's double. For whatever reason. And as such, the C4 tire tends to be a lot less durable, but a lot faster than the C3. However, I don't think we'll see the hard tires around here a lot. As durable as it is, I think 28 laps it can take. It's so slow. It's 1.6 seconds slower when fresh compared to the mediums, and 2.4 seconds slower than the soft. So Black Panther, interesting strategy. Not sure it's gonna pan out.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge gap, isn't it? I mean, over the course of 30 laps, you're looking at quite north of a minute behind if you decided to run your race on the hard compound tires, perhaps compared to the mediums or the softs. However, Black Panther obviously seems to think that he's got a chance, so we're not going to doubt that. They're all lining up. It feels like a year for all the drivers to line up on the grid, but they've just about lined up.
And here we go, 4-5 red lights. And the Singapore Grand Prix is underway, and we have Mr. Anchor with a pretty good start. Tixi already up to second place, challenging Mr. Anchor for the lead into turn one. They do come together slightly. I don't think there's any damage there. Mr. Anchor around the outside holds the lead for now. And now Tixi under pressure a little bit from Kasu here, who's trying to get past, but is not able to. Montminier, once again, with connection issues, he will fall down the order. Has gained 4 places after the start, but immediately loses them again. And is going to fall down the order as Mr. Anchor leads the way here at the end of the first sector. Now they're heading to the slightly twistier part of the section here, of the circuit here, and Mr. Anchor still leading the way. Let's quickly look at the position change. Lots of changes there, only about 3 drivers that stayed in their same position, Mr. Anchor being one of them, and then Merckton Graham in P10 and P11, surprisingly. Everyone else has switched in some capacity, as Mr. Anchor leads the field now through this hairpin and onto the straight here to the end of the second sector. And there are some gaps forming already. I mean, you see almost 10 seconds from P1 to P18. I think V8 field might have damage. Let's look. Yep, left side end plate is gone for that Haas. CD behind him, no damage. So must have been something else that happened to him here. Montminier obviously ghosted, will lose all these positions. Lucky Finger and Vino, the 2 McLarens right behind each other, already running out of ERS. And we see here for Vino, damage. We see for Lucky Finger, no damage, but he's being held up by his teammate who has damage. So very unlucky there. Exi made it back past Ollie. Mr. Anchor obviously with the fastest lap on the first lap. That will come down and I think be beaten by Mr. Anchor once again at the end of the second lap. But for now, the Ferrari leading the way.
Yeah, we've just had an overtake actually with Sven and Cupid. Sven overtook Cupid on the inside, although in fact I think Cupid might have lost connection. However, it's becoming apparent that Black Panther's tyre strategy might not be so great because he has the largest gap of anyone. Although I think my
the timing is glitched.
Are messed up at the moment.
That generally happens. It's the same on stream right now as well. That will fix itself. It is an issue that has been in F1 2020 basically since launch and has not been fixed yet. Hopefully it will be for F1 2021. But it will fix itself as soon as V8 Field has made his way to the end of the first sector, which he just pitted. He's not in the lead right now, in case you are wondering. He went on to mediums now. I think he started on the softs, didn't he? No, he started on mediums and has gone to another set of mediums, surprisingly. We have a virtual safety car. Vino, a 5-second penalty for a collision with CD. Oh, CD. Oh, my goodness. CD's in the wall, completely torn off the front wing there. My goodness. Yeah, he's going to have to pit.
Span as well.
Sorry, what?
Sorry, V8 Field has just had a span as well. He was facing the wrong way, so I imagine he's got damage. I think he might have lost the front wing. Yeah. So he's got issues. Interestingly, Vino actually had a bit of contact with his teammate, Lucky Finger, on the opening lap, on the opening few corners. The McLarens did make contact. It wasn't major, and I don't think there was any damage, but that certainly would have improved their in-team relationship.
Yeah, as Merckx goes into the pit lane now. I'm a bit surprised to not see more cars go into the pit lane. A virtual safety car, always a welcome opportunity for the drivers, as now we are back under green flag racing. And for Mr. Anker, that could not have happened at a better time. Right on corner exit, as soon as he came out of that turn 5, immediately the sign came, VSC ended, and he was back racing. So perfect situation for him here. Tixi was still in the corner. He was able to accelerate immediately and pull that gap just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I mean, as I sort of suggested at the beginning of the race with Black Panther, on those medium tyres, he is V8 Field with a 3-second penalty. He's got the largest gap on track, almost over 3 seconds behind Willow now. Sven is right behind him, and I imagine on those soft compound tyres through 13, if he gets a good exit, he's probably going to try something down the inside of 14 if he's able to get close enough. He has the DRS, he's going on the inside, hasn't quite got the speed, but unfortunately, Black Panther, those tyres are really punishing him. Hopefully, they'll come back to help him later on in the race when he decides to bolt on some softs.
Yeah, I mean, considering how durable these tyres are, they will get into some kind of... they will help him at some point when the mediums, and especially when the softs start falling off. The virtual safety car really surprised me in the regard that Inbound's Cupid, Sniper Owens, and Mark Mania did not pit. I'm not surprised the medium runners stayed out. They want to go for probably a one-stop to maybe... I would assume the hards. Maybe hope for a full-on safety car and go for a double stop. Go for one stop onto the softs and then another back onto mediums. Because you can make a medium to medium, so to speak, one-stop work. If it was legal, you would be able to, in terms of tyre wear, as Graham has to defend here from Inbound's Cupid over P9.
Graham actually overtook Cupid on the, sort of inside of turn 6, which isn't really a corner. Graham's lost it, almost putting Cupid into the wall, but luckily both drivers are very aware. Cupid right behind Graham. Is he going to try something on the inside? No, decides better off it. Graham's going quite wide. If Cupid can get a good line, it will set him up nicely for turn 14, but Graham just parks the car on the corner, and that makes it impossible for Cupid to get past, but he's going to try a switchback, and it looks like a pretty decent exit from the Renault driver.
Yeah, here he goes. Around the outside, he has to go. But I think Inbound's Cupid might have this. They do make contact, but Inbound's Cupid round the outside. And now Exy might even fancy a move here, but not yet. This section here now, these 90-degree corners, left, right, left, left, right, they are not really good overtaking opportunities. I've tried it there before when I raced myself. It's not really working. Even if the opponent in front makes a mistake, you can't really just chuck it up the inside. Is Graham going to pit now? No, he is not. I don't think he has any damage. Yeah, the front wing looks fine. Both end plates still on the car. Maybe some minor damage, but it shouldn't disturb the aero of the car too much. But look at that. He runs wide there. Is being put under pressure by Exy. Exy down the inside. Now has the outside for the next corner. Does he even want to be ahead? No, he really doesn't, because that's where the DRS detection point was, and he wanted to be behind at that, so he now has the chance here on the DRS to easily waltz past Graham, and Ollie might fancy a move as well. Looks to the inside, but decides against it at the last moment here. and stays in P12. But Graham certainly losing a little bit of time and a little bit of space here. A couple positions already down. I think Ollie is licking his fingers right now, trying to get Graham as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, track position is king around Singapore. As you mentioned from, when you're racing it, you know what, how important having that position is as Graham locks up and actually almost, I think, hits the inside of a corner with Taza's car. But yeah, the position is so important around Singapore because that really does determine your entire strategy. As Graham goes a little bit wide, I feel that Graham is feeling the pressure at the moment. The more he slides and the more he locks up, and oversteers around the corner, that's obviously going to affect his tyre wear massively. So he could be looking at already, not being able to get the full potential out of those tyres. As Exy and Cooper, they've just driving away at the moment at quite a good pace. It looks like they're sort of working together to try and help, to try and open out that gap so they can go after Sven.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're working together for all too long. Exy seems to be very punchy here indeed, trying to get a move on Cupid, whose soft tires at this point have already seen their best days. I mean, it needs to be said, the soft tires wear out so quickly here around Singapore that I don't really understand why you would be using them. Sniper Owens, in fact, does come in to get rid of these soft tires, and here goes Exy on inbounds. Cupid should be an easy move, is an easy move. And I think the same thing as Ollie also went for the move on Graham here. We saw that just in the background. But Graham has had enough. He does not want to be pushed around. And I don't want to say he pushed. He actually lets him by. So I think Graham thinks he was at fault for this one. And for Ollie ending up in the wall there, I'm not so sure he was at fault. But he's doing the gentleman's thing and decides to let Ollie by after that incident there. So fair play to Graham. Not sure he had to give that position to Ollie, but he decides to do it anyway. Gotta say, massive fair play there from Graham, and if I was in charge, I would give him an award for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the last thing you want to do as a driver, is give your opposition back that player, especially when you're not quite sure whose fault it may or may not be. A position which is really hotting up at the moment is P4. J. Cole and Huelo are really going after Zudima. It's a pretty close battle. J. Cole almost outbraked himself into the Alfa Romeo this time last lap. But he is constantly getting DRS zones, so that's definitely going to be helping him to try and get into that P4. Then potentially J. Cole can be looking at a P3.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're seeing inbounds Cupid in the pit lane, getting rid of those soft tires, going on to mediums. And he will have to come into the pit lane again. He probably is going to hope for some kind of safety car to get that second pit stop done. You lose around 25.5 seconds in the pit lane here. The longest pit lane on the calendar, not physically longest as in distance, but the biggest pit lane loss you can experience on the F1 calendar. Tied with Silverstone, which is the physically longest pit lane. So, those two, you really don't want to run a two-stop. But here, because of the ties, you're almost forced to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is, for pit lane times, as you say, they are massive. And if you can make your tyres last and to do that one stop, it's definitely well worth doing. Because like you say, it's a 25-second time loss, and you've got to find that time somehow, and it takes a pretty good driver just to be able to find 25 seconds on the tires alone. It's the guys have spread out a little bit more now, with Sven and Black Panther following each other, coming up towards the end of the lap. Black Panther obviously on the medium tires, he's not going to be pitting anytime soon. I'm just wondering if Sven is going to be coming into the pits at some point, because it's lap 8, but I'm sure he can make the tires last a little bit longer.
Yeah, whoa, as you say that, Sven gets a twitch on there through turn 2 and 3, almost loses it, and now has a massive gap to Black Panther. We have a yellow flag. That is Sniper Owens, I think. It is on the bridge. He has to spin around completely. As inbounds keep it in Mark Mania. Yeah, Mark Mania, I think, is still disconnected. Yeah, he is. So that was, it was full position, but Montmanier not really in the car. So Sniper owns back facing the right way. Massive damage on the left side of his front wing. And he will pit rather shortly. But yeah, you mentioned Black Panther and Sven. They were going at it for quite a while, to the point where Sven pressured Black Panther into some corner cut mistakes, to the point where Black Panther got himself a penalty. 4 drivers right now on penalties. Velo, Black Panther, P6, P7. CD and Sniper owns P17 and P18. The 4 drivers on penalties. Each of them 3 seconds, except Sniper. He is on 6, as you just saw there. And yeah, the hard tires should be getting into a rhythm now. They should be getting into a groove. Sven and everyone else on the mediums, I would expect that they take another 6 to 7 laps until they start pitting for possibly the hards. Maybe if they do pit for hards, possibly lap 12, 13. Maybe it's, oh my goodness, Black Panther into the wall and out of the race. Oh, and he's parked in the middle of the track there. This might be a safety car.
That's
oh
not
my.
good for Black Panther. He was doing pretty well. Also, he was 20, as you're saying, he's getting into a group. He's only 22 seconds behind the leader. He actually could have used that tire distance to his advantage, but unfortunately he's not able to, and it is just a virtual safety car. I'm pretty surprised about that. I would expect to see the actual safety car come out, and this is where some of the guys on the medium tires might want to think about pitting.
Yeah, in fact, one guy who has gone into the pit lane is Sven. He's now down in P11, but he definitely lost a lot less time from this pit stop than most drivers will when they make theirs, as the safety car, the virtual safety car should be gone rather shortly here. And
just as you say that.
As I say that, yeah, I mean, I had this before where we had a full-on safety car around France last week, and I predicted, I think I was 1 or 2 seconds too early on predicting the safety car in this lap message, but almost on point. And these ones, I have to say, these virtual safety car messages, that's over, a lot harder to predict than the actual full safety car message.
Yeah, virtual safety cars can really vary in terms of length. Safety cars are relatively generic in terms of actual lap length. It's normally, I think, about 3 laps, 2-3 laps, I believe. The virtual safety cars are very much, it just depends. But considering the seriousness of Black Panther's incident, it was only up for, a few seconds, or felt like just a few seconds. A battle which is hotting up at the moment is a battle for second place. And in fact, Kasu's actually really closing in on that leader as well, just over a second behind.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're looking at Mr. Anchor here. He was in the pit lane, has gone on to the hard tire, and he will take that to the end now. So he likes the medium to hard strategy here. A lot of drivers do, because the soft tire just overheats around here and is generally not very durable. So the medium to hard, the preferred strategy for most drivers here, as he's now down in P6 after that pit stop, but will retake the lead once everyone pits. We have another safety car, CD. Again. Now, where did that happen? That is, that is very surprising here. Where is he? Oh, he went straight on. Oh, I see. I thought he was... I was very confused there. If I can find this very quickly, let me switch through. Yeah, I think his car will be gone by now. Mr. Anchor should potentially be able to see him. He went straight on here in this corner. There is the car. So he completely lost control before this right-hander on the straight, and then just went straight on into the wall and out of the race.
Wow. Yeah, it requires a lot of concentration. All the leaders or runners at the moment are coming into the pits now. Someone's got to drive through. Penalty for speeding under the safety car, which is Sniper. Unfortunately for Sniper, I don't think that penalty is going to affect his position too much, because he's last by a long, long way.
Yeah, he's already a lap down on the leaders. And here comes Anchor as the top 5 are all in the pit lane. How many of them will Anchor get? All of them? That is the question. There is Tixi. And that is honestly a great camera shot, I have to say. We looked from Mr. Anchor's perspective to the left side, but this is a lot closer than it was before Mr. Anchor pit. So
that VSC really helped the guys chasing Anchor down, because they're now 1.3 and on fresher tyres.
Yeah, only by 1 lap, but they are on fresher tyres compared to the Finn in the lead. So this should help them out at least a little bit. The question is how much, because Mr. Anchor has shown how quick he is, and I wouldn't be surprised if he still manages to pull the gap larger than it is right now and increase that gap to what, 2.5, 3 seconds. He has that sort of pace around here. He has that sort of dominance, and we've seen it before in the first race that he participated in, the only race he participated in so far this season, where he won.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult just to come in, as a reserve driver, potentially with not a huge amount of practice, and just win. It takes a lot of courage. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know how to place a car, and you need to know your pit strategy. Already, Mr. Anchor is 2 seconds ahead. So he's doing a really good job. Kasu's closing in on how do you say? Guy in second place. Tixi. Is really closing in on Tixi, and he's going to have DRS. Importantly down the straight, but even more importantly down the main straight between 5 and 7.
Yeah, we're gonna have a look at that and see how close he can get. Don't think he'll be able to actually Ollie. We're gonna look at Ollie here because he might be fancying a move on Velo for P5, but he's also being put under pressure from J. Cole behind. So it's really, I mean, you need one eye in front of you, and you need one eye in the rearview mirror. And there goes J. Cole.
Yeah, sorry, Austin. Good corner from J. Cole. Really undercut Ollie. He made a bit of a mistake there. Went a little bit wide and understeered. And J. Cole is now hunting down Wello. See what he can do. J. Cole's been looking competitive all race so far. He's a leader in the championship, and he's going to be wanting to keep that lead. So getting past Wello is going to be very important, as he's his main championship contender, as well as Makad, who unfortunately is in 10th place for him. But Wello does have that penalty. I don't know if it's a 3 or 5 second penalty, but he's going to have to, take that as a time penalty at the end of the race. So, he's going to want to try and build a gap if he can.
Yeah, it is a 3-second time penalty, in fact, for Velo. And by the way, I don't know how long you've been on F1 2020, or when was the last time you've commentated on F1 2020. They have added recently, just a few weeks ago, I think, the ability in the spectator menu to, under detail, to check the penalties for each driver, which is really, really cool. So they can see it.
That's a big help.
It really is a big help. It used to be, I remember this from years of commentary on F1 2020 in a bunch of different leagues on PlayStation. We didn't have that, and you know those days as well. We didn't have that sort of help as commentators, as Ollie and Graham are now pitting, and we were just guessing, and we had the co-commentator always going into the race director to then try and count the penalties, and it was just so tedious. And now we can just immediately see penalties. Oh yeah, 3 seconds for Velo, 6 seconds for Sniper Owens. There you go. That's how simple it is now. It's wonderful.
Yeah, to be honest, that's what I've been doing. I haven't actually done a commentary on F1 2020. I've been commentating since F1 2017, 17, 18, and 19, but not on 2020. So this is, quite new for me. So apologies if I'm not quite up to speed with likes of Austin, who's got far more experience than myself.
I mean, only on this game, I think you have more experience overall. I just have more experience on this game.
Yeah, you're younger and fresher than me.
I'm not sure if I'm that much younger. I feel old as well. But here,
this is getting really close with Taka and I can't say his name again. The guy in P2 in the Tixi. It's just barely half a second. He's going to get the DRS, and I think Kazu's going to be looking for a move on Tixi as well.
Yeah, and he needs to get something going here. I mean, Kazu is looking pretty good in the championship. He's still battling over fourth place with a bunch of other drivers and getting that sort of advantage where you can try and get away from the rest of the pack in such a race here, where for a lot of drivers it doesn't really go that well. If we're looking, obviously, J. Cole, who is at the very front of the standings, not really in a fight with the likes of Kazu. But even he's down in P6. We have Velo in P5 and Mr. Anka, who only has 25 points, leading. We have Tixi, who's fairly new to the championship as well, in P2. And we have Zudema, who's also fairly new to the championship, in P4. So for Kazu right now, this is Christmas come early.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 18 points. That's you know, not a million miles off half his current points. And again, that's almost a third extra boost to his championship standings if he can get that P2 position. But 15 points is still a very healthy amount. And of course, you get a point for the fastest lap as well. Who currently fastest lap? I am trying to find out where. Right, currently fastest lap is Mr. Anka at 38.4, and no one's really challenged that yet. Most people are, sort of mid to late 39s and going into the 40s. But Kazu is one of the drivers in the 1 minute 39s, and he's still about half a second behind Tixi.
Yeah, and he's still trying to get a move on at some point. Zudema has closed in on those two. He's a part of this battle now as well. So this is a three-way fight over second place here. Two of them can get a podium position. We're only halfway through this race now, so there's still a lot of racing left to go. Cyprone has retired. That is another virtual safety car. Is that the fourth now?
Third or fourth? I can't. I think it might be the fourth. Third. Yeah, well, yes. I'm not sure. Yes, unfortunately, we don't have a detail that says how many virtual safety cars there's been, because that would be useful right now.
Yeah, it would be, but we don't have that, unfortunately. But I think it is the fourth, which there's an interesting quirk again about F1 2020, the way it's programmed. In a 50% race like we're doing right now, there can only be 5 virtual or full safety cars together. Like if you count them together, there can only be 5 maximum. After that, it's Tixi! Tixi got a drive-through penalty for speeding under virtual safety car. He has 3 laps to serve that now, but this is really going to hurt him, and he has had enough, and he just retires altogether, punches the car into the wall. He's had enough. Oh, Tixi is just frustrated to hell and back.
A shame. He could have came out and sort of... In fact, he would have came out in P6, which isn't a bad position. He could have got 8 points, which is 8 points better than he was, before the race. And with, like you say, who knows? A full safety car could really bunch for pack up. So it's a shame to see that he's retired. But what has done, that's meant Kazu is, Christmas is coming very early for him indeed on lap 16.
Yeah, and it's not just that he would have come out in P6 ahead of Merckx. It's even more than that. He could have gone on to medium tires and he would have had an immediate 1.5 to 2 second advantage over all the hard runners. So he could have really stretched his legs and caught up to J. Cole and Velo and maybe even back to Zudema and Kazu. I mean, who's to say that he could not have bridged this gap? I think he quite well could have. With the pace he had and everything, that pit stop, I think, would not have been as bad as he, at that point, thought it might be. So, very, very unfortunate to see here. Tixi just retiring out of frustration. I think he threw away a good amount of points here. And, I mean, we looked at the standings earlier. P12 in the standings right now has 21 points. If Tixi gets a P2 here, even if he just gets a P4, or even if it's just a P6, that's 8 points. That's a third of what 12th in the championship has right now. You're already closing up significantly, and there's still a bunch of races left to come. You could easily place yourself sort of in the top 10 within a couple of races. So I really don't understand why. I get the frustration, speeding under virtual safety car. It is a penalty you don't ever want to see, and you're just really at that point frustrated with yourself for getting it usually. I understand that, but to throw away the race like that, I just have no understanding for.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when I used to race on the PC, I would very rarely retire due to. In fact, I don't think I would ever retire due to frustration, simply because you just don't know what's going to come up. You don't know what the weather might do. You don't know what about safety cars, different people's tire strategies, and as you say. Not only would he have potentially gained a lot of positions in the championship, it will protect him from positions behind as well. And, having whatever ticks he's on, 13 points, I think, that's not a huge, 50 points isn't an unachievable target. So, he could really have gone a few fair points and, tried to challenge potentially for that fourth place. But it's going to make his challenge for for the fourth place a lot harder now.
Yeah, certainly. Again, I understand where he's coming from and why he retired, but I just disagree with the decision. And it was probably a snap decision as well. I mean, that's how these things generally go. You get a penalty for speeding out of virtual safety car. You put it into the wall next corner. That's a snap decision. We have a yellow flag in second, 2 and 3. That's Lucky Finger Vino. That's Vino. Just letting people by. He's being lapped. Yes, let people by. And he has damage as well. Almost misses that corner there. He's got front wing damage. He's going to have to pit. You see the right side front wing there. Massively damaged. So he is on his way back into the pit lane. But yeah, let's look. I mean, the gaps are massive already. The closest we have right now is between Merckx and Sven over P6. But even that is almost 2 seconds. No gap of a second or less. Zudema and Kasu still battling over second, but that also a second and a half just about. So both of these gaps pretty much, going back and forth. Which one's closer? You make the call. But certainly no one in some kind of range right now. So we're just going to look at Kasu in case something does develop here. Vino goes for softs. Vino might actually fancy at least taking the fastest lap point away from anyone inside the top 10 here. Going on to softs, because those softs will not last to the end. I can promise you that right now. Sniper Owens, who has retired earlier, has now left the session as well. We are down to 14 runners in what is certainly a race of attrition.
Yeah, I mean, technically there is a gap of under a second. It's between J-Cole and Philo. Is that how you say his name? Velo in Mercedes.
Velo.
Like
the bicycle, Velo.
Okay, so technically there's a gap of about a second there. Going to J. Cole, he's currently ahead of Velo at the moment.
Yeah, because of the penalty.
With that 3-second penalty, but Velo has actually been extending that gap just by a half a tenth here and there. And if he keeps doing that, he could be looking potentially quite safe for fourth place, which will especially how close the top 3 are, that will massively help his championship.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sven has been losing almost a second to Merckx when Merckx is on older tires, and I don't see any damage on Sven's car either, so he must have made a mistake somewhere that cost him about a second. Very costly mistake, though, but we're going to look at Kasu and Zudema again. There's Mark Manier, Zudema's teammate, being lapped right now, his ghost really being lapped right now. So Kasu trying to bring this home, a second place. There's still 12 laps left, and I mean, you see, we can just quickly calculate. I'm trying to do this in my head. With around 1 minute 40 lap times and 12 laps left as soon as Mr. Anchor comes across the line, we still have 20 minutes of racing left at least. Yeah,
a lot can happen. I mean, the other thing as well is Williams and Mercedes, a sort of a Constructors' Championship battle there is sort of getting quite interesting. The Mercs are kind of, the Williams have Kasu in P2 and Merckx in P6, but Mercedes have a pretty good middle ground with Sven and Velo, so that's going to be quite interesting. And Red Bull also getting a solid haul of points as well, so, something to keep an eye out for in terms of a Constructors' point of view. But yeah, there really isn't any really close gaps. I'm just wondering if Zudima and Casu are going to close in with each other at all. But their tires are the same, same age. Sven's probably going to start closing in on Merckx at some point, but he is losing quite a lot of time. It was 2.7, I think, the last time I looked. It's now 3.5. So
yeah, it was 1.5 about 2 laps ago. Now it's 3.5. So he's been losing a second a lap. That is quite significant. Meanwhile, you mentioned that Velo was sort of closing the with penalty gap to J. Cole. Not so much. J. Cole has been gaining a little bit. Got a bad exit there. I think actually Velo got some DRS off of a ghosted car of Mart Menier, so that's helpful. But before that, I think J. Cole was getting that gap to under 2 seconds, so a little bit of a bailout there for Velo by Mart Menier. But I think J. Cole might be slightly faster. They are on the same tires pretty much, not just in terms of compound, but also in terms of life taken out of them in terms of tire wear. But yeah, J. Cole, I think he may have been irritated by that ghost of Mart Menier. So the ghost of Mart Menier helping Velo double, first off giving him DRS, and then irritating J. Cole in one of the slowest parts of the track. It's hard to see through the ghost of another car, as much as they are ghosted, and as such, they shouldn't hinder you in any way. But let's actually, who's going to be the next one to catch? It's going to take a while for someone to catch up with Mart Menier now and to lap him. And I think Vino is not ghosted right now. So, yeah, Vino is still racing out there. So we're going to have to wait until someone catches up and tries to lap Mart Menier, which should be about 2 or 3 laps out, maybe 4. And then you'll be able to see it. We'll go on board because it really is very, very difficult to see through a ghosted car as much as it's intended to be. And so I think that cost J. Cole a little bit of time there.
Yeah, and if nothing else, not only is it quite difficult to see for a ghost car, it is very much a distraction because you see a car in the distance and you'll just want, and what goes through your head is this a lapped car? Am I, full J. Cole knows he might be, closing in on Zudima or something like that. But obviously, as he gets closer, he finds out that it's Mart Menier and yeah, it is a distraction, which definitely doesn't help. And J. Cole's actually been losing. He was really closing that gap, as you were saying, Austin. It was 1.9 seconds at one point, but it's now going more towards a 2.9 seconds gap, 2.8 currently. So J. Cole's really going to have to step on it. I don't know if he was trying to preserve his tyres at all, and managing that gap, but now he's going to put the foot down, because if he doesn't, 10 laps time, that 4th place is going to Velo.
Yeah, could very well happen. J. Cole needs to find some pace here in those final 10 laps, as we had, I think, Vino getting a penalty there in 14th. Not that that's going to matter. Did he try to go for the fastest lap? He tried, but a 40.3 is not going to be enough there to beat Mr. Anker's 38.4. So not much there. And Zudema has now been closing in a little bit more on Casu. 1.5 seconds the gap there. It used to be over 2. So Zudema has been finding some pace now in this stage of the race. And with 10 laps to go, if he can get within 1 second, all of a sudden there's DRS to help you. And we could really see a battle heating up over second place here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that second place is going to be a big talking point. Both of the drivers, I'm sure, will be wanting that P2 more than the other one, but just a whisker over that second mark. Is going to put these guys really close together. But obviously, Singapore, there's one thing becoming within that second. It's a whole different ball game trying to actually overtake at Singapore, because it is so difficult. Realistically, there's only really one decent opportunity, and that's on the DRS straight between 5 and 7. The rest is very much trying to keep within that second distance of the other driver. And especially, as you get closer, the dirty air. Oh, Mr. Anka got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. It's pretty unlikely to affect him, but who knows? If he gets any more warnings, that 8-second gap, if he got 6 seconds of penalty, that's only about, that'll only be about, 2-3 seconds.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zudema is now within a second of Casu, and we saw a massive slide there from Casu out of 21 as Velo now on 6 seconds, and that certainly helps J. Cole quite significantly there in the battle over fourth. But we're looking here, Casu and Zudema. Casu's running out of ERS, as is Zudema. Look at this, they're both under 10%, so not much to use here for either of them, and so Zudema, I think, will have a hard time closing in, and yeah, no chance to attempt an overtake here on Casu. And for now, it is still a finish 1-2 for Mr. Anka and Casu here. Not that they're in the same team, but they are both from Finland. So, at least that's going for them. And so Zudema biding his time for now.
Yeah, and also I think Zudema might be running slightly less fuel because he's got the fuel warning indicator on his car at the moment. So he might just be running a fraction less fuel, which could be why he's closing in on Casu at a fairly decent rate because, a couple of litres here and there, or a couple of kilos of fuel, will make a huge difference to your lap time. It'll be about, a tenth of a second per lap, which is certainly nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, definitely. But now he's been losing a little bit more again, so it's really going back and forth between those two. And very good work here from Casu to get Zudema back out of DRS range. And as I say that, Zudema with a fantastic final sector gets right back in it. So, as I said, they are going back and forth completely here. And Zudema certainly seems to be stronger in the final sector. There might be a difference in the setup between the two, which should help Zudema with catching up, but it should also help Casu in defending, because I suspect that Casu is running slightly lower wings than Zudema, which means worse cornering. It's not a massive difference. It's just, a tenth or two around the whole track. But, lower wings means worse cornering, but it also means better acceleration, higher top speed. So it should help Casu with defending, and it should make it pretty difficult for Zudema to get past that Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. Singapore's very much one of those tracks. You need the highest wings possible, go around all the twisty bits, and as soon as you come to a couple of straights, like between 5 and 7, between 13 and 14, you want to dump all that wing, but of course you've got to find that middle ground. And these drivers will think that their middle ground is better than the other driver's middle ground. And that gap is, 8 tenths of a second at the moment. I imagine Zudema's going to get the DRS on Casu if, as suspected, he has a slightly higher wings, which will certainly benefit him towards this back end of the lap. And it's still about 8 tenths of a second, and they're passing the DRS detection zone pretty much now. So he should get a double dose of DRS, providing he can continue to stay within that DRS zone, which comes up just on the exit of turn 4.
Certainly looks good right now. We have a yellow flag in sector 1 that is for a lapped car. That is not any actual danger. It's Vino, actually.
There's one coming up. I think Casu's coming up to a lapped car at the moment.
Yeah.
I suspect it is Vino or Lucky Finger.
It's both McLarens, actually. They are lapping each other here. I don't know who's lapping who between them, but they are also... Oh, Vino's first. Okay. I just see it on screen there. Vino's going to be the first one. Then it's going to be Lucky Finger. So Lucky Finger has lapped Vino already. And yeah, we're gonna see here Casu, and we're gonna see the difficulty of seeing through a ghosted car. You still see, viewers, you still see it's mostly solid. Okay, he pulls out of the way very nicely there for both of them. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh, yeah, you see it's still sort of 70% opaque. So it's difficult to see through it. And I think that's what cost J. Cole some time earlier on Velo. and gave Velo some DRS as well, obviously, because lapped cars do still give DRS if you are within 1 second of them, or if you're 1 second behind them, I should say. So
Casu
we see
get DRS,
Casu, yeah, Casu gets it here, but Zudema gets it off of Casu as well. So Zudema still there, but this time he won't get much closer. But you see how the time has slightly come down still from Zudema to Casu. So maybe the slipstream has helped there a little bit as well. That Casu only got for a limited amount of time until he passed the ghosted car of Lucky Finger. And Zudema got for the whole time because he stayed with Casu and got it off of Lucky Finger as well.
Yeah, an interesting battle which is sort of reoccurring potentially is one between Velo and J. Cole, because that gap's now 4 seconds. It was about hovering around 3 seconds last time we looked, or 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds last time we looked. It's now hovering around the 4 second mark and extending. So Velo still has a somewhat decent chance of keeping P4, but you do have to wonder, how hard is he pushing with just 5 laps to go in this race? And Zudema and Casu are so close. They're close as they've been, within well under half a second at the moment. Zudema with the DRS is probably going to bide his own time and try and wait for that main straight to, put a challenge on to Casu at the moment.
Yeah, there's not really much of a reason for him to go for something. Certainly not here, where it's very difficult to overtake anyway, as I mentioned before. But looking at Velo and J. Cole, remember, Velo did get an additional penalty. He's now on 6 seconds, so J. Cole still 2 seconds ahead. Net 2 seconds ahead after penalties. And Zudema might actually fancy it here. No, he's not liking this opportunity just yet. So he's gonna wait. But look at how close he is. I mean, he can smell the fumes of that Williams very, very clearly. We have a blue flag showing here. That is for the McLarens behind, as Velo and J. Cole are about to lap them. In fact, Velo just did. And yeah, this time around, the turn 5 there for Zudema was not that good. And so he's not able to get close enough to Casu and get that move done. But he still has a lot of opportunities left. There's still 4.5 laps for that Alfa Romeo to find a way past the Williams.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with Singapore, if you can manage an overtake in an opportunistic position, let's say where we are at the moment, let's say you're able to put an overtake down the inside of 13 or something like that, it really does put the other driver off balance, off rhythm, and it actually is a big help. Like, that overtake, it might, although the drivers might be quite similar in pace, and you might be thinking a DRS zone is coming up, so there's probably little point in overtaking. In terms of the driver regaining that confidence and his rhythm, that could be worth a couple of seconds in itself. So it's not, if you're close enough, I'd just say go for it, especially this late on in the race.
And then one thing to note as well, generally around this, or not around this track, but on this game on F1 2020,
Zudema is crashed!
Yeah, thankfully he can still continue, but that's massive front wing damage, and he will have to pit. That's about the worst position to crash in. Velo goes past. J. Cole will go past. Oh my goodness. He's going to have to go around one whole lap, and that lap is going to cost him many, many seconds. I think he will rejoin after his pit stop, possibly even behind Sven.
Gosh, yeah. Yeah, Zudema is in a pretty unfortunate position. That's really helped Velo at the moment, because obviously has a yellow flag again.
Yeah,
I think that might be for Zudema because he's driving so slowly.
Exactly.
And his understeer is just awful. Merckx might even catch him up on this lap, who knows?
No.
If Velo can turn that P3 into he's not going to turn it into no, it doesn't matter. He won't turn that P3 into P2. I was going to say, if he could do that, and obviously that's a big chunk of points. That's 3 extra points to Velo, but I think that's unlikely.
Yeah, as we see Zudima here crawling around the track, agonizingly slow. And we said before, you lose around 25.5 seconds in the pit lane. Well, if you're changing your front wing, you're going to lose around 30.5 seconds because that front wing change costs about 5 to 6 seconds extra. So we can almost say 31 seconds even. So yeah, I think at this point he will rejoin behind Sven. Maybe even behind XC. That is now the car he has to look at and think about, well, will he be there? Because Merckx is closing in significantly. The question is actually, might it be smarter for Zudima to stay out because you lose 31 seconds of the pit lane from a pit stop? And there's only 3 laps left, so, you know, and no, he does come in.
Lap, I guess, so if he can stay within that top 10, oh dear, that's just adds insult to injury, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Zudima saying he can stay within that top 10, which I think he'll be able to achieve. He might be able to nick an extra point, but it's nothing like the 3rd place he once had. J. Cole, on the other hand, is actually 5.3 seconds behind Velo, so that's a really close gap between them, because obviously Velo has that 6-second time penalty.
Yeah, meanwhile, here comes XC. We look at the left side and we see there is the Alfa Romeo. This is going to get really close between XC and Zudima, and XC just about has him. And Zudima right behind, but Zudima is on the softs, and considering how old these hard tires are, the difference is not 2.4 seconds between the softs and the hards. I would estimate the difference to be around 3.5 seconds. So Zudima should be a lot faster here than XC and should get that position back as soon as possible. I think he might... Nope, he doesn't fancy it here. But look at the difference there. Wow. He almost gets him on acceleration here throughout this section, and he gets him around the outside. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's the difference of tires, but to even go for that, to even contemplate such an overtake around the outside of XC here, wow.
He's got to gain about 5 seconds, and he's got, well, what, a lap and a half to do it. But he has got the benefit of about 70% of ERS. Most of the drivers will be having sub 20% ERS. Zudima has a 70%, 75% of ERS. So that is going to massively help him. So, you know, he is really going to be going for it now.
Yeah, and what I was trying to say about the ERS, it is incredibly important on this game in general. But around here, or generally on this game, if you run higher wings, which obviously around Singapore you would do. And by the way, Zudima has actually 2 laps time still. So we are on. He just entered lap 30, whereas Mr. Anker is in the final sector now. Yeah, he's also on lap 30. But yeah, so with the ERS, if you run higher wings, which around Singapore you obviously do, most drivers run 811, 711, some even 911 wings. 11 is the highest setting, and so they run a little bit less on the front wing. But the higher the wings are, the more difficult it is to recover ERS. That's something that has actually been confirmed by F1 esports drivers who have tested this for a very long time to make sure that what they're finding is accurate. If you run higher wings, it is a lot more difficult to regain ERS compared to if you run very low wings. So around here and around Monaco, those are the 2 tracks where it's borderline impossible to get any kind of ERS back. Whereas around other tracks like Monza, like Spa, like what else do we have where it's really fast? Silverstone, where you run rather low wings, you tend to have a lot of ERS to play with, and if you just don't use it for one lap...
a little bit of in fact, decent amount of contact between Zudima and Sven, and Zudima has got that fastest lap, but I think he might have damaged his front wing.
Yeah.
Another gap again, so close. J. Cole and Velo. This is sort of a main gap and talking point at the moment between 3rd and 4th. Velo could really do that 3rd place. to help him jump J. Cole in the championship. He won't do it this round, but he may very well do it next round.
Yeah.
But that gap is 5.9 seconds, and he needs 6.
Meanwhile, Mr. Anchor comes across the line to win the Singapore Grand Prix in dominant fashion.
Oh, Velo's crashed.
He has. And there goes J. Cole into third. Oh my goodness, Kasu's second. Kasu's second, J. Cole third, and Velo in the final sector loses a potential podium. Despite the 6-second gap, he almost had that on J. Cole, and now it's just completely flipped to the point where he had 6.5 seconds to J. Cole plus the 6-second penalty. So he lost exactly what you see on screen there. He lost 12.5 seconds to J. Cole right in the final sector. Merckx is going to come home in P5. Will Zudema be able to bridge the gap to Sven? 5 seconds, his penalty. It seems unlikely. He has a lot of tire wear, or a lot of grip still in these tires, but I think 3 seconds in one sector are a bit too much to ask for. Merckx in P5. Zudema comes across the line in P6, but on penalties will be 7th as Sven takes 6th place off of him. XE8, Ollie 9, Graham 10, Inman Cupid 11. At the final point goes to Lucky Finger in P12. Wow. Mr. Anchor.
What an end.
Yeah, what an end. I mean, Velo, it's heartbreaking to see. But if we just quickly think about the standings, I'm going to do, in my head, I'm going to try to get the provisional results for you as Mark Menier, who wasn't in the lobby all race, gets driver of the day. I have questions. Let's say that. But
I'm sure he drove a great race.
His AI certainly did. But here is Mr. Anchor, 2nd race of the season, 2nd victory of the season. I mean, if you make him a full-time driver, you're guaranteed the World Drivers' Championship here in LOE, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. He did such a great job, and to be honest, Zudema, he was doing really good. And considering as well, a rookie, so to speak, last weekend in France, getting that 3rd position, he was on course for a pretty good position himself until obviously the speeding and that penalty.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this is the result here. We see the top 14. Everyone else who was in this race has retired, so has not seen the checkered flag. But if we quickly check out, just to explain very quickly, the point system is still the same, except once we get to, P9. P9 doesn't get, hold on, I messed up. P7 gets 6, yeah. So once we get to P8, it's different. So P8 doesn't get 4, but 5 points. And then it goes 1 less, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's why we have the top 12 here. But J. Cole gets 15, so he's going to be on 140. Velo gets 12, so he's going to be at 132. Merckx gets 10, so he'll be at 125. That is going to be the top 3 in the championship. Mr. Anchor will be on 50. However, he won't be 4th. That will go to Sven, who will be on 58 points. Actually, never mind. Kasu will be 4th now with that. 2nd place, completely missed that. As Kasu will be on 62 with these 18 points from a 2nd place finish. So Kasu up to 62. Then Mr. Anchor up to 50 in P5. Sven with 58 in P5. Then Mr. Anchor, and I may have missed Black Panther in there as well. Apologies. And potentially Exy, who also got a couple of points, but that is the race here. That has been Singapore, and we're trying to get some of the drivers in as I'm quickly going to, because I hear that sound and is it actually picking up? It is picking up on the stream, isn't it? Yeah, let me quickly close the game. Are we going to have some drivers to be interviewed here? No one has joined yet. I don't know if they will, but yeah, let's wait a second to see if they do. And in fact, we do have someone there in the still championship leader and extending his gap as well. J. Cole
Good evening, gents.
Good evening to you as well. So, Jekyll, talk us through this race of yours. I mean, it was a little bit different, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I think the rain in qualifying, I think, played a massive part into it. But overall, I'm happy that I managed to just clinch it on the podium. Again, I kind of got a bit lucky from it, from Velo having that spin at the end. But yeah, I just sort of played it a bit more passive and a bit more like a cautious drive, like for the last 11 laps, and it almost cost me it. Again, I just got a bit lucky with it.
Yeah, and talk us through the last sector of your race, because I think you saw something that you didn't really expect, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I said to get a bit lucky, because I was looking at the bottom. Well, I was looking at my delta between me and Velo, and it was borderline 6 seconds, and I tried to pick it up a little bit more, and then, well, when I came through that bridge and I saw Velo was in the wall, I did feel sorry for him. I must admit, I did feel sorry for him, but at the same time, I was just happy that I ended up doing it in the end and managed to finish in third. So yeah, I think that was just more what I was. I can sort of breathe a sigh of relief now.
Yeah, I mean, you've also. Oh, Hamish, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Jacob, I mean, in terms of his championship, that certainly helped. But had Velo kept on to that position, he would have been, you guys would have been, within 2 points of each other. So I'm sure you're relieved, but you've got a little bit more breathing space. You can probably afford to lose a position or two in the coming rounds.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, I'm happy that I can just sort of, it's still 8 points. It's like it's definitely not something that I need to just, think, oh, okay, he's only 8 points behind me. That's a clear enough gap. But I just need to make sure I just keep on doing what I'm doing at the moment, and hopefully it can transpire into getting that BC championship.
Yeah, not just 8 points to Velo. I mean, Merckx is also still there. He got a 5th place tonight, so he's just 15 points behind. You did gain 5 on him tonight, but with 7 races still left, I mean, 15 points is not a gap that you can just relax on. In fact, all 3 of you still could win this championship under your own power, which is something I always like to look at to see who still has a decent chance. Which means 8 points because you can get the fastest lap under your own power and a win. But then, the other driver could get 2nd place. So 8 points times the amount of races left. So anyone within 56 points, you can't fully relax right now. And those two, I mean, they're a long way away from 56 points when we're talking about 8 and 15 points, respectively.
Yeah, they're certainly breathing down my neck. I was more surprised that when I saw Merckx was sort of as far down the field as he was. As I said, that completely surprised me. But I think in the end, I just had to make sure I just focused on up ahead. And I almost costed myself, I must admit, coming out of the pit lane. It for some reason, in case you didn't see what happened, for some reason, I've turned off I had my overtake going into the pit lane. Turned it off in the pits, but then it turned itself back on when I was coming out of the pit lane, which then spun me. So
yeah, it tends to do that. If you have it on pit entry, it automatically turns it on no matter what you do. It automatically turns it on pit exit. It's a bit frustrating. Yeah, I've had that before. I knew if I had I could have told you if you had asked me, but obviously can't really ask me about something you didn't know about. So it's a bit unfortunate. But looking forward to next week. Obviously, is Japan. Not far away from Singapore. So short travel. But it's a very different track as well. Much more high speed. Then again, not that many overtaking opportunities either. What do you think about the track?
I like Japan. It's definitely a fun track. Would I say I'm good at it? No, not really. So I was just more happy that I got a bit more of a result tonight, just to make sure just to make sure I get a little bit more of a jump on it, because I'm sure Velo and Merckx are going to be coming out all guns blazing come Japan. So yeah, I just need to try and maximize as much as I can now.
All right, and once again, congratulations on a podium and on keeping the championship lead, Jekyll.
Thank you very much, lads.
All right, we have someone else here. We have the second place finisher, another podium finisher here in Kasu. Kasu, talk us through your race. What was that like? The battle with Zudema, and what was going on there?
Well, at the start, I had a great start, honestly. P5 went to P3 through the first 2 corners, and then after that, just tried to go as fast as I can. Well, yeah. And Zudema, I was sure he was gonna get past, but it almost looked like he had some sort of damage, because at one point he did slow down quite a bit. So I don't really know.
Yes, I mean, we caught it on stream quite clearly because you had about the closest battle on track for about 10 laps at least. At least that's what it felt like. Maybe it was less because the track is just so long, but certainly for a long time you were the closest battle. And what happened was he spun in the final corner and hit the pit wall. And that was that.
I didn't even notice it myself.
That is surprising.
I saw the yellow flags, and then the Velho said that, Zudema spun. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
It was right behind you. He was about half a second behind you.
Yeah, he was right behind me.
Yeah.
I was surprised that
I'm surprised you didn't see it.
I was so focused on just trying to keep it out of the walls.
Yeah, fair enough. It is a difficult track after all. Yeah, so what happened in qualifying? I mean, we're not generally expecting you to see around the realm of P7. We do expect you a little bit further forward. Is it really just the track being as difficult as it is, or is it, what was the reason for the P? Was it the rain?
Yeah, I think it was more the rain and just luck taking in the factor also. But mostly down to the rain, I would say.
Okay. And once again, looking forward to Japan. Different circuit, faster circuit, but in terms of overtaking, you don't have that many opportunities around there either. What do you think about the track? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think you can challenge Jekyll?
Well, it depends. If I drive on controller, like today, I think I can challenge Jekyll, but not on wheel. Yeah. And also next week, really looking forward to break week. Also.
Oh, yeah. See, this is why you should have the calendar open, because then you can see that it's actually break week. So 2 weeks then, Japan. So, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna use both weeks for practice for Japan and say, hey, I really want to get my teeth into that? Or are you gonna say, you know what, 1 week now, I'm just not gonna do anything on this game?
I think the latter one. Honestly.
Okay. Fair enough. I can understand that for sure. The game can weigh out quite a bit, especially if you're racing every single week as you do. So, break week, and then for April 9th, it's going to be Suzuka. So, once again, congratulations on your second place and on your podium finish tonight. Kasu.
Thank you.
Well done, pal.
Hamish, what? Sorry?
Oh, sorry. No, I just said well done.
Oh, okay.
I think my microphone's quite. I was probably a bit too far away from my microphone.
It slightly picked up, yeah, but not fully. It was a bit weird, but caught me off guard. But yeah, as we just mentioned, in 2 weeks we will be back around Suzuka on the only track on the whole F1 calendar that is actually called Course and not Circuit, the Suzuka International Racing Course, as is its official name. And certainly a track that I think from what we heard, a lot of drivers like, whether they are good at it or not. So certainly a driver's favorite, a fan favorite as well. And I would say even a commentator's favorite. The only figure 8 circuit awaits us in 2 weeks. And with that, we are going to leave you. Make sure you subscribe to the League of Europe channel. Make sure you hit the like button on this broadcast. If you have enjoyed watching this Singapore Grand Prix, with 7 more races to go. We will be back in 2 weeks, but I think PlayStation has plenty of action here on this channel. So thank you very much for watching, everyone, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.